Welcome to Deep in the Plus. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys so much for being with us. We know it's a busy time of year, so we appreciate you hanging out with us tonight to talk about some Marvel stuff. Before we go any further, just some business. If you haven't already, please subscribe to WDWNT TV and also hit like because it helps people to find the video and helps people to find my good friend here, Patrick Hackett. Patrick?
Hey, what's going on, Rob?
I feel like you're frozen.
I feel like I am too.
Interesting.
Yep. We're batting 1,000.
We're batting 500,000. Is that a thing to do?
Oh, no.
Hey, there he is.
It snapped right back.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was the snap. It was a Marvel thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Wait, Marvel? I thought we were talking about ranking.
I know. I have Life Day stuff on. It's crazy, man. But we're going to talk about Marvel tonight. You know what? When we were talking about Deep in the Plus and wrapping up the year, I was like, I don't think we necessarily need to do a show. And Patrick was like, no, we need to do one more. So, yeah, just one more. And so we're gonna rank the Marvel Studios originals on Disney Plus, and we'll talk about what that means in a second. But first, Patrick, I think we need to. When it comes to rankings, I think we need to address the elephant in the room.
What are you talking about? You've never done this
my
before.
daughter got this elephant. It's a Dumbo.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
Yeah, it's a Christmas Dumbo, and she got that at Disney California Adventure a long time ago, and we break it out every holiday. So I figured, let's start off by talking about the elephant in the room. Yeah.
That's a super cute one.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, awesome.
Anything you want to talk about before we get started, or are you good?
I mean, this is the first time we're doing any sort of rankings, so I feel like the people should be just really champing at the bit to get our opinions and see how correct we are on everything.
Yep, absolutely. So here's the thing: we talked about what this means from Marvel, like for a breakdown of Marvel. There's a lot of Marvel stuff on Disney Plus. And so if I go to the let me bring it up here. If I go to the tab here on Disney Plus, we have so much Marvel. And when it comes to like TV shows and things, we have a ton of different TV shows. We've got these shorts, these Marvel one-shots that were actually on the DVD release stuff. We've got these Team Thor things, Agent Carter, all that kind of stuff. But I think when we're talking about Disney Plus specifically, we want to talk about the originals that came to Disney Plus. In 2019, when Disney Plus launched, they were talking about all this original Star Wars content, all this original Marvel content, all these cool things that were coming. But in 2019, it was November of 2019, we didn't have any idea of when that stuff was going to be released. We were teased with all these things like WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier that were coming. Nothing actually hit Disney Plus until it was 2021. It was January 15th, 2021 when we finally had WandaVision. Wow. Why did we keep Disney Plus for so long when they promised all this Marvel and we didn't get it?
I don't pay for Disney Plus, so I'm good.
Ooh, okay. It's one of those
No,
situations.
it's through Verizon. It's completely on the up and up.
If you say so, my friend.
Yeah.
So before there were Disney Plus originals, there was the ABC stuff. Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, and Inhumans. Did you watch those?
I watched Agent Carter sporadically. I never watched Inhumans. It just had so much bad pub. But I loved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I was all about hashtag it's all connected and hashtag Coulson lives. It was, man, I really liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then it got weird and it just kept getting weirder.
Well, I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got weird, I think, when they ran into the Inhumans, which then had that spinoff, and then obviously the Agent Carter show. So there was a trilogy there that I feel like they're really kind of dismissing as not being part of the MCU and not canon. So we're not going to talk about them. I know you get mad at me when I talk about canon, so we're not going to talk about canon. And then Netflix was like, we are going to do it up. We're going to do
good.
Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Punisher, and bring it all together in The Defenders. You watched all those?
I have not finished all of them. I have watched all of Jessica Jones. I do believe all of Daredevil, all of Luke Cage. I think I got 2 episodes into Iron Fist. That is horrendous. And I don't know if I even dabbled in the Defenders. We were talking about this. I don't remember if it was on or off the air, but it's like a job to keep up with all the Marvel and Star Wars stuff, and sometimes things are just going to have to fall by the wayside. My television viewing that is time for just me is desperately short, and I got to pick and choose the best of what I am going to watch.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Hulu and Freeform had some shows. They did Runaways. I don't know if you watched Runaways.
Yeah,
I liked
I
Runaways.
love
Cloak.
Runaways. One of the best comic series there is. When I first got Marvel Unlimited, I asked my friends. I said, "What should I read?" They said, "All of Runaways." And man, that is a great series. Great art in it too.
Yeah. Cloak and Dagger. Olivia Wilde? No, Olivia. Which Olivia? One of the Olivias. Olivia
Newton
Holt was
John.
in that one. No, Olivia Holt was in that one. Cloak and Dagger. I thought that was pretty good. Hellstorm. I didn't see.
I
Hit
didn't even know
Monkey.
that existed.
Hit Monkey and Modoc both came out, and they were animated. Patton Oswalt did Modoc. Hit Monkey was with Jason Sudeikis, and they don't have anything to do with the MCU. They're just Marvel products that have a show on Hulu. So then you had FX had the
Legion.
one with Legion, exactly, and then there was one on Fox, and I forget the name of that one. That was kind of another
Oh
X
yeah,
Men thing
yeah. It was more
um,
X Men
with the
stuff.
Von Strucker children. Um, so then that brings us to where we are now and what we're going
Yeah.
to talk about as far as a list. So you and I have talked about this. We're going to make our list of these 11
Yep.
things. Now we're going to count in these properties. We're going to count the 9 or the 8 series that have been there, the Groot shorts and the 2 specials, Werewolf by Night and Guardians, because they're all technically canon to the MCU.
Correct.
So, and there have been 30 MCU movies. Wakanda Forever was the
That's
30th movie.
insane to think about.
Yeah. I heard some people were talking about Pixar movies once upon a time. There are not
Nope.
even that many Pixar movies. And here we are.
Yeah.
Marvel started out, what, 12 years ago, 11, 12 years ago with the MCU. And we already have 30 movies and many more on the way. So it's kind of neat to see all of the,
Movies. Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then more TV shows on the way, which we can talk about at the end.
Yeah.
But let's start by talking about the series. We're going to rank them. Again, we have a state of the art. We spared no expense chart that we've put together. We had the boys in the tech team work this one out for us,
Wow.
just so we can. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it came out better than I thought too. Yeah, for
Jake
sure.
outdid
It's fantastic.
himself.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you,
is
Jake.
fantastic.
Oh
Yeah, yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Bless up. So we have 11 of them here. I want to start at the bottom and and work our way up. Now, I will say that I have a criteria. A lot of people don't hear it when I say I have criteria, so I'm
Yeah.
going to say it out loud. I have criteria, and my criteria is if it is essential to moving along the storyline of the
Ooh.
MCU. That's my
Wow.
criteria here. Yeah.
Wow. I did not even take that into consideration.
I don't want to. I'm not going cinematic. I'm not
Okay.
going necessarily rewatchable.
Uh-huh.
I'm just basically going. How does this further along the story of the MCU? Because I feel like that's what this content is meant to do.
Interesting.
It's supposed to further this along. So I'm guessing you have a different criteria.
I did. I went by a different criteria. So I went by number one, is it good? There's a big difference between something being good and me liking it. There's lots of good things that I don't like, and there's lots of things that aren't great that I'm a big fan of. So is it good? Like, is it artistic? Is there value behind it? Then I go with rewatchability, and then I kind of mix and match my favorites in there. What do I really like? What do I think was important to me, important to the story? But I didn't think at all about moving the story along. That's a really valid idea.
I appreciate it. And you know what? I don't think that goes too far against the grain of whether I liked it or not either. So
Yeah.
again, my criteria is does it further along the MCU? Like, is it important to furthering along the MCU, or is it just kind of filler? Because we don't, like you just said, we don't have time to consume all content. We want the things that's going to help us. We want to watch the things we're going to enjoy, but we also want to
Yeah.
watch the things that are going to be important to further the story along. And that happens in comic books too. You have Detective Comics, Batman. a whole series of Batman comics that come out monthly. Some of them are their own story, and some of them like cross over between each other, and you kind of got to know which ones are important and which ones are kind of a standalone
Yeah. I was on
episode.
a another show back in the day, and I took myself to be like the comic reporter, and the amount of comics I had to read to get into it was Avengers versus X-Men, the
Yeah,
Avengers versus X-Men series, and my God, I was spending like $200 a week on comics to try and keep up with the story. The story's terrible, by the way. It was not worth it at all.
okay. So all that being said, what is your number? And one more thing I have to say is I don't
Yep.
hate any of them. Just because there's 11 of them, we're going to put one at number one and one at number
Yep.
11. I don't. There hasn't been one yet that I hate. Now I think that's different for you. So tell me what your number 11 is.
So I did the tiered again, and I know we're going to get to that a little bit later. So I don't have anything below a B tier here. Everything is S, A, or B. So if you're the tiered ranking is the hot new trend. I guess it came from a couple video games, and S is like your superior, your super. A, B, those C, D, E. Those are grades. So it kind of goes like that. But I have nothing below B level. There's not anything here I wouldn't want to revisit.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. All right, you were on me, so you want me to start with number 11?
Number 11. What you got?
Number 11, I went with What If. Um, it was fun. It was silly. It got Marvel Zombies into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It got us a really fun meet and greet in California Adventure for the Halloween party. But it just, eh, not having everyone's voice was very distracting. Rob and I have talked about that on a number of occasions. I wasn't thrilled with the look of the artwork on several of the episodes. Um, the guy who's playing the Watcher, oh, I forget his name all the time. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, is that him?
No, Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright's fantastic in it. I like more. Anytime I can get more Agent Carter, I'm all for it with Captain Carter there. But on the whole, it just kind of fell flat for me. I had to force myself to watch that more than enjoy it.
Gotcha. For me, number 11, I'm going to say again, my criteria is that does it further along the story. For me, number 11 are the Groot shorts. We almost didn't even put these in, and you and I did
Yeah,
a whole 1 hour review of what is basically 12 minutes of content when you go through all of these. I loved them.
so
They were
good though.
entertaining. They were fun to watch. They were well done. They did kind of give us a little bit of backstory about like what happens between the time when he's in a pot and what time, and when
Yeah.
he's, in Guardians 2. But to me, that doesn't further along the story a lot. So I put the Groot shorts in at number 11. If we're still doing this boomerang style,
Yeah.
I think this is where I'm going to lose people, or it's very very divisive on this one. But I'm going to put She-Hulk at number 10. And here's the thing, I liked it. I was looking forward to it. I think Tatiana Maslany is an amazing actress. I think that some of the comedy bits of it were good. I know that Tommy C puts us at the top of his list. The breaking the fourth wall thing did get to me a lot. I thought that it was a little overused, but I think a lot of people found that endearing. I just don't know what this is going to mean for the long term of the MCU. I know there was supposed to be a TV show called what was it? The about cleanup, um,
Oh yeah, Damage Control, or is that
damage
the
control.
DC version?
No, damage control.
Yeah.
DC version was powerless, maybe I don't know, but damage
Yeah.
control was supposed to be, and they still have like throws to damage control in
Yep. Miss
Spider-Man
Marvel.
Homecoming. In Ms. Marvel they have throws to it in the land. So I mean, in damage control, I feel like that would have been this. Like, hey, there's
Oh,
repercussions. You see what I'm saying? There's
got it. Yeah, yeah,
repercussions
yeah.
to being a villain and
So
to being in
Damage
prison and all that stuff.
Control as like a Mike Schur style mockumentary, like Parks and Rec,
Oh
The
yeah,
Office, all that. That would work really well. So I can see what you're saying there.
yeah. So again, She-Hulk, I would watch it again. I don't, but as far as my criteria of does it move the story along, I don't feel like it necessarily does. So you give me your next two, buddy.
My next two, so number 10 for me is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Um, Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie, I could watch them do just about anything. Um, The storyline was tough. I understand it had to go through significant rewrites because of the pandemic, and doing a biochemical kind of storyline wasn't really being felt at that moment. I liked some of the cameos. Some of the stuff with U.S. Agent was really uncomfortable. I know it was supposed to be, but it just kind of hit me on the wrong note. I think the best times were when we were being light and funny, and we were getting kind of like the buddy cop stuff, and the stuff with Zemo. I thought the stuff with Zemo was terrific. And then we got whatever's happening with Agent 13 in that. By the way, we should say up front, like, spoilers galore here. If you haven't seen any of these, please come back after you've watched. What's that? It has to be like 80 plus hours of television.
It's so across the board, isn't it? Like the Guardian special was like what, 48 minutes or something like that, and then the Werewolf by Night was like 55, and the Groot shorts are really short, and some of the series were 6 episodes, 8 episodes. Yeah, it's across the board. But yeah, it's a lot of content to consume. But again, it's been since 2021, January 2021, so we're almost closing in on 2 years of content here. So.
Wow, that actually, when you think about the 11 things, it seems kind of small for, I mean, it's kind of a lot for 2 years of content.
Yeah. What's your
number 9? Oh, man, I hate to do this because I really like the character, and
don't do it.
Really like
don't
the
do
actor.
It. Does it have 4 letters?
No, God, are you insane?
Okay, all right, just making sure.
No.
Whew.
It's Moon Knight. Moon Knight's my number 9. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I would revisit it, but I still there was something missing from that I just wasn't getting. Sometimes I felt the comedy was played a little too lighthearted for the serious tone of it. The whole shifting identities thing, it just didn't click with me, especially the stinger at the end. Kevin Bacon, tremendous job. That is Kevin Bacon, isn't it? Yeah. Was that Bacon or no? Who's the guy that looks like Kevin Bacon? Why can't I think of the villain?
Oh, you're talking about what's his face?
Right out of my head.
Ethan Hawke. Ethan
Hawke, fantastic.
I was like, Kevin Bacon. What are you talking about, dude?
I have Bacon on the brain because of what we'll get to later on. Ethan Hawke's tremendous, and Oscar Isaac's great. It's just it missed for me. It missed a little bit.
You know what? Moon Knight was always a favorite comic book character of mine.
Me too.
And so I was really looking forward to it. I thought it was well written. I thought that Oscar Isaac did an amazing job playing the multiple characters in it. But yeah, it was like Legion. Like we were talking about Legion. It's like it's kind of hard to follow because of what's going on, and so you sort of need the kind of the cliff notes of the character and the history to know what's going on. So I feel like a lot of people kind of probably didn't love Moon Knight so much. So I think I put it a little bit higher than you did. So anyway, so this is going to rock your world, my friend. Because again, my criteria is, does it move the story along? Is the Guardians Holiday Special. Loved it. Loved that special. I did. I've watched it 3 times now. I think it's a great Christmas special, but like, I mean, other than the secret of the relationship that they that they talked about in there, I don't really see much of how this moves things along. It was just kind of a bottle episode that could stand alone. We don't know where Gamora is. We're not moving the story along in it. So to me, I like it as a free-for-all, like just a funny romp. I mean, you and I talked about it last week on our review, or 2 weeks ago on our review, and I would recommend it. I think it's great, fun, but as far as the importance of it in the MCU, I put it at number 9. So I feel like you're going to have yours way up at the top.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so number 8 for me. And again, I loved this, and we did a review of this one, was Werewolf by Night. Because, again, I think that these characters, Man-Thing and Werewolf by Night, are going to be significant down the road, but right now we don't know what that is. So if it's like that sort of that dark Marvel with Doctor Strange and Moon Knight and Man-Thing and all these folks.
Mystic kind of.
Right, then I think it's going to be there could be some really cool stuff down the road, but because there's so much content with Marvel, I don't know if they're going to get to that. I mean, things that they bring out of left field like Thunderbolts are standing, that's a project that they've got to work on, advertise, release, before they're going to do the next thing, and they've got so many things on the docket. Like, when are they going to get to something that has Moon Knight, Man Thing, Werewolf by Night all in the same thing? So I thought it was artistically, and I think we got raked over the coals for not talking about like ranking things artistically and from a
Yeah.
movie standpoint, all that kind of stuff. But from artistically, I think it was Michael Giacchino,
Yeah.
genius.
Oh yeah.
Giacchino, genius.
Absolutely genius.
I think that his directing was awesome. I think the black and white thing was awesome. But again, as far as it's moving along the MCU, I put it at number 8. Back to you, my friend.
Well, my number 8. So now we're in my A tier. The last 3 were my B tier. This is my A tier. Is She-Hulk. When I started this list, She-Hulk was a lot higher, and then I remembered the last episode, and I think that was a giant swing, like a huge home run cut and a big miss. I think they went for the fences, and they took that risk where it was gonna flop or fly, and it flopped. I think generally people did not like that. On the whole, the fact that they decided that they were going to make like a lawyer Marvel TV show, and it was very Ally McBeal, very Ally McBeal, which was an incredibly popular show that a lot of our listeners, viewers might be too young for, but I got a lot out of that. The acting was great, the comedy was perfect, and man, oh, Daredevil, man, it's just so good, so good.
Okay. So just to kind of catch everybody up, where we are right now, we're ranking these. So these are the Disney original content for the MCU. So these are all MCU Disney Plus originals, and we're ranking them in. We have our different reasons for ranking, but we're ranking them now, and then we're assuming we have some time, we're going to go back and, like Patrick was talking about tiers, we're going to do that tier list and kind of move that together, and we'll use the chat a little bit on that one as well, because I can see definitely in the chat a lot of people have some opinions. Dawn said that the Guardians was a super standalone. Michael said that Werewolf was a good Halloween watch. 100% agree on both of those. So, let's get through this. So, what's your number 7 then?
My number 7, and this was tough. I went back and forth. I flip-flopped the next 3 a lot, and this is where it wound up, is Ms. Marvel. I really enjoyed it. The colors were fantastic. I enjoyed The Runaways, which was another series that's more of that YA kind of style. I liked the surprise at the end. It's just we're getting into splitting hairs here, and my big go-to when I am like deciding between 2 is which one do I want to watch again. And so the ones that are above this I would watch before this. I still think it's really good. I like what it's bringing to the table in terms, like you said, of moving the story along and introducing new characters, and we're kind of getting more ground level. I like the ground level Spider-Man and the people who are just kind of taking on the local stuff. So it's just it's really good, but we're splitting hairs at this point in time. Rob, you may be muted.
Just to take a look at what we got in front of us right now, we're not in the same ballpark at all.
No,
there
not
there
at
were
all.
some that we had on another
lockstep.
ranking that we did that
Yeah.
we were in lockstep with, and this one I feel like we're kind of, we're definitely running different courses here. But like I said, I think we had different criteria coming in. You had said things like I did about the last one, about is it rewatchable? Do I want to go through it again? Did I enjoy it? Whereas again, mine is how important is it to the storyline, the overall storyline of the MCU. So that leaves me at my number 7, which is Moon Knight, and that was a little bit of a challenge for me, because I do think that while Moon Knight is, as I said, one of my favorites, Oscar Isaac was great. It was a real thinker. You had to really sit. It's not one of those where you can like sit on your phone and do stuff and then like look up every now and then. You really had to watch this thing at least
to rewind
once.
it at times.
Yeah, and so just as as an overall piece, I think it was amazing. But I feel like again, it was sort of in a bottle. Like I don't think that it touched on
Yeah.
the other worlds that were happening around it. It'll be interesting to see how or if they bring Moon Knight into the rest of the MCU, but I do know that bringing him to Avengers Campus in his multiple forms was the coolest thing. I didn't get to go. I wanted to see it. I hope they bring them back on a regular basis. Moon Knight and was it Mr. Knight?
Mr. Knight. Yep.
Okay, so Moon Knight's number 7 for me. Number 6 is What If, and you put What If at number 11. Here's
Yep.
why I like What If, because it really kind of, I feel like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness pulled a lot from What
Yeah.
If. Captain Carter was in What If. The whole kind of isolated version of him where he destroyed the worlds was there. So I feel like this is something that they may or may not come back to. I was having this conversation with my wife. She said this was not the same for her because of multiple stories. Every other show that we have is a consecutive story, whereas this one was multiple stories, but it kind of came to a head at the end with the Watcher when he needed everyone's help from all these different universes to come up and help save the multiverse. So it was after, I believe it was after Loki that this one came out. So we've already been established that the multiverse between the two of them was a thing. I think that this was a little bit more important than some of these other things. Which, as I look at them, Groot shorts on its own, She-Hulk on its own, Guardians. This one was one of those where it touched on those other realms, but. You and I have talked about over and over again how much it bothers us that like Dave Bautista couldn't be included in this as a voiceover, whereas Chadwick Boseman was, and so many other actors did bring their voices to the table for this one. So I think it's important that if they're going to do this moving forward, they got to get everybody to sign that dotted line that says, I'm going to be there and I'm going to do this. If this is that important to the future of the MCU, make sure all your actors are involved.
I feel like Disney should be better at negotiating contracts than they are. Maybe under the new leadership we might see something different.
Oh,
Or
is
it
there
could
new
be
leadership?
same old. I hadn't noticed. No, I wasn't
Oh,
really sure.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so so Moon Knight number 7 for me. Number 6 is What If. What you got at number 6
All
there,
right.
buddy?
Well, my list timed out because I forgot to put it on my computer and it's on my phone. All right, so number 6 for me is the Groot shorts. And the reason this dropped so low for me after I raved about them is because Rob's right. It does not matter in the grand scheme of things. However, if you've watched Deep in the Plus a lot, you know one of my criteria for things is it short? I can blow through all of these and enjoy them if I need just a quick pick-me-up. It does advance the story a smidge. I think they were really just well done artistically. I think the one that was on the other planet where he gets all the hair, it's just really beautiful. A lot of nice colors, a lot of good contrast in it, especially with like the darker sets of the ship. I just really dug it. It just hit the right spot for me at the right time.
All right, so one of the things that Dawn just brought up in chat, it says, do we know if the actors were all asked? Wonder if it was a cheaping out thing, or maybe not everyone was available.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a valid question, but when I
yeah.
see stuff like Cosmic Rewind, where Rocket is not voiced by Bradley Cooper, I'm just like, you should have had them. Maybe you could have rewritten the story if you couldn't have gotten Drax. Why was he the bartender? He wasn't important in that scene in that episode. Maybe you should have, if you couldn't get Dave Bautista, then don't use him. I don't know. It's one of
Yeah.
those things
Yeah.
where they use it. The DC universe, and we all know the DC universe is in some huge flux right now. There's
Due
a
to
lot
another
going on.
former professional wrestler.
Right, and so we know that James Gunn is running DC the movies now, and he apparently is getting so much flack he had to write an open letter. That was interesting to see. But anyway, with DC, I always thought they did a great job they did some shorts like Vixen, where they used the actual actors from the TV show. Now, we're not talking
Yeah,
about huge movie
I like
stars. We're talking
Vixen a
about the
lot.
actors from the TV show. The guy that
Yeah,
plays John
from the
Constantine, and I don't know
Arrowverse.
his name. The guy that plays John Constantine is Constantine on. He was in the NBC series, and then he was Constantine on Legends of Tomorrow on CW, and then he was in the DC movies they would do. He was also the voice of Constantine. And give me that
Yeah,
every day, that
right.
consistency, so that I know these worlds connect and make sense. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe they didn't ask him. Maybe they didn't want to pay for them. I don't know what the
He's
reason
been
was, but
really
either way,
busy.
that was
He's
weird.
been doing a lot, so it could be,
Who,
you know.
Batista? Oh
Yeah,
my
he's
God,
really
yeah,
been doing
yeah.
it. Yeah.
I went and saw Violent Night this weekend, and there was a preview for that new movie that he's got going on, where he's like in the woods, the cabin in the woods. It's the M Night Shyamalan new movie. It's not
I don't
Cabin
know
in the
that
Woods, but
one. I'm
yeah.
excited.
But
Cool.
he's there. Yeah, he was in the Guardians Christmas special, a holiday special. He could,
Yeah.
it was so short, he could have like cut that line from his house and sent it in if he needed to.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I don't know the reasoning behind it, but it is one of those things where I would have liked for them, if Chadwick Boseman can be there, everybody should be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
I'm
So
at five.
you are going into five. What you got?
Yeah. So Werewolf by Night. I actually think Rob is incorrect on this. I think this is going to weigh heavily on the future of the MCU. I think we're going to see a whole branch headed in this direction. I think somebody in the chat brought it up too. Moon Knight might be a part of that. They're all kind of these darker, mystic characters.
Right.
And it's beautiful. It is hands down one of the best shot things I've seen in a really, really long time. The cigarette marker in the corner, what an
Yeah.
incredible touch that was. Everybody's acting their pants off, just wow. And that's my number five. That's how I feel about my number five. This is the end of my A tier. The rest are all S tier.
S tier. Well, and
Yeah.
you know what? We were talking about not being in lockstep, but there are some very evident things that we have not said yet. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting around the top two or three
Mm-hmm.
how we end up here. So again, you know, if you are watching, thank you guys for watching. Please give us a like if you have not already, and also let us know what you're thinking in the chat. We're watching along here with you as you're watching with us. So my number five was tough because my number four and five I think could be flipped depending.
I'm actually
But
about
my
to flip my 4 and 3 right now.
but my number five was Hawkeye, and again,
Yeah.
I liked that show a lot. I liked it probably more than I was prepared to. It definitely has some implications for the future. Bringing back in Kingpin from the Netflix series that did everything for me. I loved seeing that happen, and then seeing Echo move on to get her own show, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So it introduced some new characters. I think it was fun to see, Kate Bishop and how all of this kind of comes together, seeing where
Kate
Hawkeye is.
Bishop.
What?
Oh, just Elena in that is so good. Every time she says Kate Bishop, I die.
Oh yes. So again, this was a tough one for me because I put this at number five, but it could have
Yeah.
easily been number four for me because Ms. Marvel was number
Wow.
four for me.
Okay.
So, and Miss
Let's
Marvel,
hear
like
this.
again, it was really cool because I feel
Yep.
like it had a message talking about her culture, and we learned a lot. I mean, I learned it was
Yeah.
almost like I was learning. Maybe you and I even talked about this. It was like I was learning accidentally about the history of the
Interesting.
culture,
Yeah.
and seeing her. The only thing that I think bothered me was like they modified what her power is. It's not her stretching. It's this like
Yeah.
cosmic power that she's got instead.
Yeah.
But because I feel like is going to be such a big thing with the Marvels, I feel
Yep.
like this is that it slightly edged out Hawkeye for me. So Hawkeye number five, Ms. Marvel number four.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Cool. Cool.
So
I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna flip my 4 and 3 or I'm gonna stick with my original list.
well, once you say it, it's out there, buddy.
All right. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the hate because I know it belongs way closer to the top, and it's just the other three I like more, and I think have more uh, qualities that I'm looking for. It's Loki at 4.
You son of a bee! I knew that was
I
coming.
know.
I knew it.
I know. I loved it. I fought my top four switched a lot. There's like so little that is putting in between these, and honestly, it might be the point of the characters I like more. I've always liked Hawkeye, so that's higher than Loki. Guardians has been my favorite branch of the MCU, and there's one other one up there, and I'm sure we're all figuring it out. What's going on there. Loki's fantastic. It is darn near perfect. If that was a show on network television, it would have had a following like Lost did. It was incredible, start to finish. Weird when Loki started loving himself, themselves. I don't know that the like right they're leaning in for the kiss. I don't know, but it's fantastic. There's not a bad thing to say about it. The only thing I can say is I like the next three more. I
I'm
know,
shook.
I know,
I'm shook.
I know, I know.
So again, my criteria, this one has to be higher. So that's all I'm going
Okay.
to say is because of my criteria,
Absolutely.
this one has to be
But your
higher.
criteria, this has to be much higher. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you said you were thinking of flipping 3 and 4. So, and did you flip it or did you
No,
leave
I
it?
kept it the same. I kept it the
So
same
so
because
what's
I
number
love
3?
Pizza Dog. Bro, I just got to go with Hawkeye. It was incredible. I watched them the second I could. Um, I love Kate Bishop. I love that Hawkeye in the mentor role. Pizza Dog was always a favorite cartoon character, cartoon comic character of mine. The Matt Fraction run of Hawkeye might be one of the single best written comic books in history. It is just great from start to finish. It tells a story in a different way than anybody else had. And like I said, I like these street level things. I don't need the giant cosmic battles up in the sky. I need a couple things going on, down in ground level in Manhattan and getting Kingpin back. How huge was that? I think I might have woke my wife up when I saw that because I popped so hard for that. And it's
Vincent
just,
D'Onofrio.
man, oh, and if they ever decide to go with a different Tony Stark, which I don't think they are since we've had Riri Williams, I mean it's Robert Downey Jr. He has embodied that role, and Vincent D'Onofrio just knocks it out of the park in that. And I like the way they did it because it wasn't the same guy from Netflix, but a lot of that is still there. Haley Stanfield is amazing. Why can't I think of Elena Belova's the actress's name right now? Man, my brain, it's holiday brain is what it is. It's just, the holidays wreaking havoc on my brain, but she is fantastic. That fight scene with the pushing buttons in the elevator. And I just rewatched that, and there might be some recency bias right here because it's been thrown in our face repeatedly. It's a holiday series.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. Um Florence Pugh.
There it is. Thank you. Florence
I
Pugh,
was
who
going to
is an
say
amazing actor. Um, it's just,
yeah.
man, I love that. I loved it. I literally could watch that on repeat.
Isn't it funny that Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio coming back in is like superstars? They're just it's because we know them from those other shows and them crossing over into this universe makes it so cool to me anyway when they bring them
Yes.
in. And that's why we both put She-Hulk lower down on the list, but I was shocked because I feel like either I heard a rumor or I wanted it to happen that Jessica Jones, that Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones
Yeah,
was going
I
to
heard that
return and she
too.
didn't. And I just kept waiting for that to happen. And maybe that was part of my disappointment in Jessica Jones. I mean, in She-Hulk is that it was, it didn't come to fruition on that because
She
that
just
would have,
needed a private investigator. It would have worked out perfectly. And we could have got more Hellcat because we got that whole dangling string of Hellcat that we didn't really get to. If we were doing this inclusive of everything, Jessica Jones might be at my top. Um,
yeah,
Purple Man is the scariest
David Tennant.
villain in the history of the MCU.
Yeah.
Scarier than Thanos, scarier than anything's been put out because that felt incredibly real.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Out of all of the Netflix stuff, I would have put Jessica Jones at the top, no question. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there was so many more stories that they could have told with that. So the idea that's not dead and gone, that they can bring that back in and we can still see
Mm-hmm.
these actors continue the story of those characters is great. But again, Charlie Cox showing up in Spider-Man No Way Home was just like, I mean, it
Yeah.
wouldn't, if Harrison Ford had walked through the door in his Indiana Jones costume, I still would have been more excited about Charlie Cox. Like, I don't know why. I just thought
That's
it was
funny.
fantastic. And him like, well, I'm a really good lawyer. Like that line,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good. That's another thing about She-Hulk that I'm not sure if I love. The idea that they kind of made it like it's kind of a comedy, but then they throw in Daredevil in
Ye-
there. That was I feel
and
like
also
that.
some very serious tones for stuff that's a comedy, stuff that
Yeah,
probably shouldn't be joked about. So yeah,
yeah.
it's
So
tough.
yeah. Well,
Not
again,
everything's gonna hit.
no. No, let's take a look. We'll look back at our very high tech list here again.
Hmm.
Again, we have not locked up on anything here, and some of the stuff that I have in my top three, you've already played your cards. So
Yeah.
interesting to
Well,
me on that one. I do see a couple of vacancies on the top of yours, and I feel like I know what's coming there. So let me just
yep.
go ahead
I think
and
we're lockstep with number one. I'm pretty sure we're gonna be lockstep with number one.
we 100% are not.
Oh, all right. Okay, let's do it.
Again, my criteria being how important these things are to the future of the MCU and furthering the story along. I put Falcon and the Winter Soldier next because there's a
Okay, yeah.
lot of storyline that happens there with what's happening with U.S. Agent and what's happening with the Falcon becoming Captain America now, and what's up now with Bucky and what's that going to mean, and Agent 13 and what happened there. Like there's so many things that are involved with that one, so many pieces that I think we're going to come back and see again. And this is, to me, it ties so closely to the original Avengers story because that was Cap. He's the
Yeah.
first Avenger, and like got the shield behind me and the Captain America Winter Soldier chair. Like I'm a huge Cap stan, uh,
My shield's
Cap
over
all the
there.
way. So
Yeah.
so I mean it kind of pains me to put it at number three. But what happened with this story, and I think you mentioned it, is that COVID changed what this was going to be. And because of that, it felt shorter than it should have been, and it felt less
Mhm.
involved than it should have been. I mean, you had the Black Panther tie-in, and what's going to lead to the Thunderbolts, and I mean, there's a lot of pieces that all connect in this series. But I wanted it to be bigger than it was. But I do think it was important to what comes next, and so that's why I have that one at number three. Thoughts on that?
No, with the way you're doing your list, I absolutely see that, and some of the reasons you put it so high are some of the reasons I put it so low. I feel like there's just so much going on that there's not a central focus. I mean, even the main storyline just kind of isn't. It's just kind of there. It's very much a MacGuffin. Um,
Yeah.
some of the character development we get is very good. Uh, my cousin Rachel is she's a new cousin, just had a wedding, got married into the family, and she said, I hate it when they pretend superheroes would have poor people problems, and uh Falcon being out there trying to fix up the family boat. Like, come on, Tony doesn't give you guys a stipend. There's not government money headed into the Avengers. Also, fixing a boat is inherently a rich person problem anyway. But
Well, I
yeah,
mean, if it's your
there's a lot
livelihood,
going
maybe
on.
not.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's all jokes
I
here.
don't. I don't know. Dawn says love those two, and yeah, the chemistry that I don't know if it was accidental or on purpose. The chemistry between
Just happened.
Sam and
Yeah,
Bucky
yeah,
that along the way. I mean, I love both of those actors, those
yeah.
characters, those. I mean, the whole thing. Like if you ever watch
Yes.
the
Yeah.
outtakes where where he's going cut the check, like I mean, it looks like they have so much fun, and I feel like a lot of that comes through the bit where, in the one movie where he pushes the seat back and he's like, "Could you move your seat up?" And he's like, "Nope." I don't know. I love seeing these guys together, and I think that's probably what led us in this direction for them to make this is like, hey, these guys are really good together. Let's see some more of this. But I do think that we probably are seeing a muted version of this because of COVID. That we
Yeah.
could have seen something even bigger because I thought this was going to be the groundbreaking one. Because honestly, neither of us have mentioned one of the big ones that I didn't have high hopes for, and yet here it is going to be in my my number two, which is WandaVision.
Ah.
I'm assuming that that's your number one, but
Yep.
for me, WandaVision was something I expected very little from because
Hmm.
Wanda and Vision from the Avengers movies were not my favorite characters. Like again, I like the big ones like Thor and Hulk and I just Black Widow and I don't know. I just for me I was thinking, I don't know what this is. When they first talked about it at D23, and they're like, yeah, it's kind of like, the MCU meets Lucy, and it's like,
Yeah,
what are you talking about? What does this mean? They're it's like, you'll see. Um, but it's important because you see the next evolution of Captain Marvel in it. We get to meet the twins, her
yeah,
kids, Wiccan and Speed. So like they made it weird though. Like I wish that Wiccan and Speed like that was real and not like that they were pretend, and then that gives us something for her to fight about in the Multiverse of Madness. I wasn't expecting her to be the villain in Multiverse of Madness. I was expecting her to be an ally. When I first saw the trailers for it, and I love that they threw me off with that because you and I have talked about how sometimes you watch the trailer. We watched the trailer for Cocaine Bear.
yeah. It's the greatest
And,
movie ever made.
and I watched the trailer and I looked at my son afterwards and I said, "Did we just watch Cocaine Bear?" Because it was like everything, like they showed everything. I feel like not that I'm not gonna not watch it, but I was like,
Yeah, no,
for this one,
yeah,
yeah. So for this one, as I'm watching, the trailer, I'm thinking, oh, she's going to be an ally, and they're going to need her, and then to find out that she's basically kind of the villain in this whole thing, kind of threw me. And then her trying to get the kids, but you needed to know about that motivation in
yeah,
order to really understand what was going on with her and her, in Multiverse of Madness. So I feel like it's a pivotal show that
yes,
like anybody who was going to watch Multiverse of Madness, I was always like, did you watch this? Because some people watch the movies and don't watch the Marvel content either because they don't have Disney Plus or they don't have the interest. And so I think that it was great that they made a show that Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, great, in both of them were
should have
amazing in this.
gotten an Emmy. She
Oh,
was
absolutely.
incredible.
Yep,
Should have
I
gotten an
agree
Emmy.
100%. And then this, obviously sparked a spinoff, with Agatha because Agatha
Yeah,
was such a popular character in this one, and
yeah.
who knows what we're going to see in that one. But again, we could talk quickly about that after this. But that's my number two. So you've got two left, my friend.
Well, you
I
did.
feel like I know what your number one is, so I guess I know what
Yep.
your number two is. So go ahead and put that out there.
This definitely might be recency biased. Uh, I loved it. I've watched it 3 or 4 times. I actually listened to the soundtrack, headed to a Hanukkah party. It is Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. It has become must see holiday watching in my house from now on. It has entered into Rudolph and Frosty and Santa Claus is coming to town and the year without a Santa Claus. This is going to be watched every single Christmas. The performances are fantastic. It does not tie a whole lot into the MCU, but it does drop that big bombshell. And I think if you watched our review, we spoiled that, and I don't feel like spoiling it here because it's not necessary for me to talk about. But there is such a huge connection in there, and having Kevin Bacon, and now all of Kevin Bacon's movies are canon in the MCU, including Friday the 13th, which is it's pretty amazing. And you want to talk about chemistry, Mantis and Drax, just perfect. I feel like they really need to be doing so many more buddy cop movies in the MCU. It feels
Mantis
like
and
it's their
Drax, Falcon and the Winter
yeah,
Soldier.
yeah,
Yeah, I get you.
uh, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think you thought we were going to line up on WandaVision. So
I
interesting
thought
that
we
we
were because
didn't.
I feel it's more important than Loki. I definitely feel like it's more important than
Dude,
Loki.
with what's coming up with Jonathan Majors, introducing
Yeah,
him
okay. All
needed to
right. Yeah.
happen, and once it did, it was the introduction of the multiverse. It was the introduction of Kang the Conqueror. It's this is the doorway to everything that's coming, and I feel like we've been in waiting mode for the next phase. I feel like all the stuff we've seen has been entertaining, but we were on such, and you and I have talked about this before. We
Yeah.
were on such a ramp of the Infinity
The Stones
Wars,
and
right? The
Thanos.
stones in
Yep.
each one, and just those little clues of what's coming next. And I feel like we haven't had that cohesion. And while the multiverse was a big theme in these, in the latest phase and on these TV shows, I don't think it. I think that it was most well described in Loki. And so Tom Hiddleston,
I mean, you can't do no wrong. Um,
Right. Exactly.
just throwing it into WandaVision real quick. There's a fantastic run that's just like this, where Wanda and Vision try and start a family in the comic books. It was a few years ago, and let's talk about the fact that Wanda Maximoff is one of the most powerful people in all of Marvel Comics. The House of M, like no more
Yeah.
mutants. She has gone on these before in the comic books, and she finally ascended to the power that the Scarlet Witch should have. I think they've handled the character incredibly well since then. I thought all the little nods with Agatha, and then finally looping them all together in the Agatha all along bit was genius. Um, I feel this should have gotten a lot more consideration for Emmys than it did. This was a fantastic piece of television that if so, like, again, you want to put this on network TV, if someone on network TV is trying to do a sitcom about sitcoms while also paying homage to the sitcoms, it'd be a runaway hit.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it had a lot of great pieces in WandaVision, but just again for me, it was Loki. And if we take a look back at this list, um,
Yeah.
again, we didn't line up anywhere, buddy. We didn't line up anywhere. But like you said, we kind of came at it from two different lanes. I saw a lot of people saying in the chat that a lot of people are lined up a little bit more with what I was talking about on here. But you know what? I think you and I could argue any of these and feel like
Mm-hmm.
we're justified in what that list is. So.
Well, Rob,
Um,
you may take the people's opinion, but I don't care if they boo me. I see what makes them cheer.
you good?
I'm good.
So I think we got two ways we could go here. Do we
Yeah,
need to to tier these, or do we want to take a look at what's in Phase 5? I don't think we got time to do both. So you tell me what you feel like. Um, do we
I
take a look
think
ahead, or
if
do we
we
tier them?
tried to put it in a list together, I think that would take more time and be less worth our while. I think we did actually go out and get some expensive tiering stuff, a little more than the spreadsheet.
I
But
know,
I think
I know.
let's
It's
talk about what's coming up because, man, Loki season 2.
So this is the entire MCU, like the 5 and 6, basically what's coming up, right? So we
Yep,
know that from a TV standpoint, and let's lean into that because that's what we've been talking about. We've got
yep,
Echo is coming up. I think Blade has been put on hold. Daredevil's coming up. Secret Invasion is coming up. Ironheart and Agatha, Coven of Chaos. Those are the ones that are going to be the TV shows that are coming up. So you
and
know
Loki season 2.
and
Missed
Loki
that one.
season 2. And we've already seen there was a clip that they dropped this
Yeah.
week. We talked about on Disney Entertainment News today. Is there was a little bit of a clip where we got to see like some pieces of it very quickly, knowing that it's just around the corner. You didn't have Loki super high on your list. Loki only made number 4, which is it's near the top. But
Yeah.
I mean, what are you expecting to happen? Like, what are you looking forward to in Loki season 2? Obviously, you're a little weirded out by him loving himself with the whole Loki Sylvie thing, but
Man, it's really
Sylvie's
weird.
in it. I mean,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
finds her again in this one. So, I mean,
Uh,
what are you looking at happening
I
in
need
the
like a
second
hundred
season?
percent more Loki Gator, like a lot more Loki Gator,
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
and more of Puddle Gulp, Throg, the Frog of Thunder. Um, I just want more wacky silliness, and then ridiculously tense moments that makes me wonder if I'm watching the same show in an hour or half hour. I want to be hit over the head with fantastically well timed comedy and little quips, and then these earnest moments where people are trying to find their place in the world and having to make these monumental decisions in a short period of time. And I would like to see a jet ski. That's number one on my list.
Joe noticed that you made that Rick and Morty reference, so
I
kudos to you.
do believe that it's a Vince McMahon reference that predates that, but yeah. It's usual heel stuff.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, when I look at this one
Mm-hmm.
and this list, Daredevil's the one that pops out to me because I
Yeah.
really, really loved the TV series. Like, again, like you said, Jessica Jones was at the top, but Daredevil was a close second. It was kind of the Iron Man of the Netflix
Yeah. Yeah.
Marvel TV universe. Was, was the Daredevil show. So I'm looking forward to bringing Charlie Cox back as Daredevil. That to me is going to be a big deal. Um,
And the
honestly,
rumor is it's the Wilson Fisk, mayor of New York, storyline that they're going with.
gotcha. I mean, honestly, like Secret Invasion is coming up soon.
Yeah.
With the
Like
scroll
real
and
soon.
yeah, and Nick Fury back and all that. Ironheart absolutely seeing Wakanda forever and leaning into that one. Getting to know her. We knew this was coming, and maybe all leading to some sort of a Young Avengers situation.
That's what
But
I'm hoping
Daredevil
for. Young
echoes the
Avengers.
one. Go ahead.
Young Avengers is such a fantastic part of the comic book universe that I think giving them their due in the MCU is important.
Okay.
They go through stuff that's a little bit different than the older people, and I want that. Oh, I forget the character's full name. Sam something who plays is Nova. I want that character. Nova has been a long time favorite of mine. I love the Nova Corps. So let's get some Young Avengers action.
Don't say it like that. That's weird.
Oh yeah, I see what.
Um,
Yeah, no, yeah,
yeah,
gross.
that's just weird.
Yes.
So one of the things that that I don't know that anything really has a hard date yet. Looking at another list, here is Quantum Mania we know is February 17th, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 May 5th, and the Marvels July 28th. So we know when the movies are coming out, but as far as the TV shows, we're getting early 2023. What If Season 2? We didn't talk about that one, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen in that one, but I'm looking forward to that. Echoes one where I'm not really sure. It's one I'm not sure I needed, but I'm looking forward to seeing where it
Yeah,
takes us, and especially if it has
yeah.
Wilson Fisk in it, that's going to be cool. Loki Season 2, like we talked about. I do think they pulled Blade from this list as well, and then Daredevil Born Again. But we're gonna have to wait a while for Daredevil, and since they just introduced him in Spider-Man, and then we saw him again in She-Hulk, I gotta feel like he's gonna do some drop-ins even before his
Yeah.
show, because I mean that's spring 2024. Are we just gonna put him in a box till then?
No, you can't put Matt Murdock in a box.
No, you
Actually,
can't
that's
put
how he
Matt Murdock.
sleeps in a, sensory
Is
deprivation
what's a
chamber.
better name for this Agatha show? Was it Coven of Chaos or House of Harkness?
Meh. But neither of them really hit with me. I mean, I think Agatha all along would have been the way to kind of go with it. I'm interested to see where that's going to go because that's going to have whoever's running that show has so much freedom to do what they want because I can't see that really coming back into the MCU. You can tell older stories. I don't know. It's really interesting. I think the one that's going to have a ton of weight is going to be Secret Invasion. Um, I know we're going to be dealing with Kang the Conqueror, but do we have like scrolls in the background? Are we eventually going to go with another Civil War type event? Um, it's very interesting having the scrolls and all that they kind of bring in and looming large with Kang and with obviously the scrolls in Secret Invasion is the first family of Marvel, who we have only seen un poquito of with the John Krasinski cameo. Is the Fantastic Four cannot be far behind if we're getting all these Fantastic Four adjacent characters. Even Agatha Harkness, she was a babysitter for the Fantastic Four in the comics. So we're treading into some territory here.
I think the problem for me is that I want it all now. Like
Yes.
you talked about there being a lot of content. There are a lot of movies that I want to watch, or a lot of TV shows that I want to watch, but they're on the list, but they're not the ones I'm breaking down the door to see. When Mandalorian 3 hits, that's going to be one that I'm going to be like, everything else
Yeah.
stops. I got to watch this, and I'm going to,
Yes.
absorb it. Looking at these lists of the Marvel ones, I don't know that Secret Invasion, What If, or Echo are necessarily that for me, but I'm gonna jump
Loki.
into them and watch them. I'm looking forward to all of
Loki's
them,
a
but you're
appointment
right.
television.
Okay, yeah, I will. That
Yeah.
one I would definitely agree with. Daredevil will be that for me 100%.
Yeah.
But when I look at, like, I want all this stuff now. I want it now because I would watch all of it right now. If when I go to sit down at and at night and watch a show or a movie, this would be this whole list again. Even though I don't have necessarily some of these at the top of my list, this list would be the first thing that I would start tearing through
So
if it was there.
putting
So I
putting a
but
bow
go ahead.
on all the television stuff.
Yes, let's
I
put a
kind of want to
bow on
see
it.
yeah, what your idea is, Rob. Do you want weekly episodes, or do you want them to give it to you all at once?
Weekly.
Do you want that just sit and binge and take it all in and then maybe go and revisit it, or do you want that like anticipation for the next one?
No, I think that that's a great question. And I think maybe we've asked that question before is it better for them to drop everything at once or is it better for them to do one at a time? I love it when they drop it all at once, but then you absorb it and you just watch it all one into the next, and you don't really have time
Yep.
to talk about it with friends or it just you just burn through it so quickly, and then it's over, and then you're moving on to the next thing. Whereas if it's kind of like you said, appointment television, we're dropping the new one once a week every week. Then I'm a little bit more into the idea of like can't wait for the next one. You have that anticipation.
Yeah.
So I think, and you know what? Let me liken that to a park attraction. Do I want a
Sure.
fast pass more than I want to wait in line for an hour? Absolutely, I do. But when you're waiting in line and you're talking about it, and the last time you rode this with your friends, and you kind of build it up, it's only usually most of the attractions are like a 2 minute ride. So that's part of the journey is the anticipation of getting onto it and getting through the queue and seeing the next thing. And so I think that while my heart says give them all to me at once, I think what's best for me is if you separate them out and do them one at a time. Why? You brought up the question. What is your answer?
I don't know. That's my issue. I always feel like if they're weekly and I'm not right on top of it, I always am like la 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 walking around because I don't want spoilers. I really and truly hate spoilers. I want to go into things fresh. I actually, even with theme park attractions now, bringing it back to the parks again, I stopped watching stuff. If I know I'm going to go on it, I stop watching videos. I get
Same.
the bare minimum information so I can sound competent on our shows. But for the most part, I just keep it completely blank because I want to go in. And I did not know anything about Harmonious, and when I saw it, I really loved it. So that was pretty great. And I think like a lot of these TV shows are going to be like that. So Echo, I know very little of the character. Um, I learned a little bit about Ironheart through my comic book reading, not a ton.
Hmm.
So I'm going into these completely fresh. I don't have any ideas on the character. So I know Ironheart's Riri Williams. Alexa, Echo off. That triggers that thing. Yeah. Um, I think in those cases, I do want it weekly. I don't want to have to take in all that information at a time. But like Loki, give me all of Loki so I can sit, I can watch it. I don't care if I have to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I can go back and review stuff. New characters, give it to me piece by piece by piece. But people I'm familiar with, I'm aware of, just throw it at me. Let me, like Barney Gumble said, hook it to my veins.
We talked about Andor last week, and one of the
Yeah.
things that we talked about was that it really started getting good around episode 3. So they dropped the first few at once. Then you're like, okay, I can get into it. But also that means it's a bigger time commitment too, because if you've got limited time at night to be able to absorb a TV show after you put the kid to bed and before you fall into a coma, then it may be better to have just one in your queue waiting for you so that you don't binge and maybe lose out at the end. We really had to pace ourselves on Wednesday because that was a really good show, and we were like, okay, let's just do like 2 a night rather than trying to like stay up until 3 a.m. and watch all of them.
Yeah.
But Desi said, I like coming up with theories. Like I like it weekly so that she
Yeah.
can come up with theories about, wow, let's talk about that. What do you think that meant, and what does that mean for next
Yeah.
week, and what is that going to be? What does that mean for them as they come up? The other part about that is if they stretch it out over time, then by the time that it ends, you're that much closer to the next piece of content
Ooh.
from Marvel, as opposed to you
Ooh.
watch it all today. Now you got to wait till February 17th when Quantum Mania
Okay.
comes out.
All
I
right.
don't know, dude.
I can see that. By the way, real quick, because I know we're going a little bit long, and speaking of coming up with theories, the theory that Nikki Ramos, because she kept looking to the camera, had the star necklace, and kind of WandaVisioning She-Hulk, I would have preferred something like that more than what we got for the end. Even if it was going back to that well. I saw a really good either TikTok or YouTube. I don't even know how I consume media anymore. Something went into my eye hole that went into my brain that kind of started pointing out the similarities between the Nikki Ramos character played by Ginger Gonzaga expertly and Agatha Harkness, also played expertly by Catherine Hahn, who is amazing in literally every single thing she does.
Yeah, that time you actually dropped a Rick and Morty reference.
I've never seen Rick and Morty.
Eye holes, what? Oh, come on, dude. You don't know about eye holes? Okay, whatever.
No, man.
Okay, well, you know what, my friend, thank you for doing this. I know, like we said, we were going to wrap up with Andor, and then you were like, dude, we got to do one more. We got to do a countdown.
Everybody loves the rankings so much. It makes
everybody
everyone
loves
so
the
happy.
Rankings. They do. So again, these are not the opinions of WDWNT. These are
it
us.
sounded like my
and
Twitter
our,
account when I had it.
Yeah. These are my opinions and my opinions only, or our opinions only. But let's take a look at that list one more time before we get out of here. So, again, I don't think that there's, like you said, they're all S, A, B tier. There's not like a C, D, E.
No.
In this group. All of them were enjoyable for one reason or another. They all bring something different to the table, which I love, because some of them are historical, some of them are goofy, some of them are thrillers, some of them are mystery. I mean, it's like each one brings adventure, something different to the table. And clearly, we had a different list coming in about how we would put this together, but it was, I think that, either of those lists work. I bet that if I were to poll my family, theirs would probably look more like yours than mine, because they didn't really like What If or Falcon and the Winter Soldier at all. So, but thanks for doing this, man. Maybe we'll do another one sometime. I mean, there are 30 Marvel movies. There's the Star Wars movies. There's Star Wars Disney Plus original content. Tales of the Jedi, all this other stuff. So, there's just a lot.
We would need to come back several years from now for me to catch up on all the Star Wars that I need to see.
We should tier the WDWNT on-air personalities. Nope. Let's not do that.
Get fired.
Nope. Let's not do that.
No.
So Justin is asking top 3 in terms of my enjoyment on them. That's a good question. Werewolf by Night was fun, and it's an easy watch, and it's a good one.
I wanted
Guardians.
more of it.
Guardians was fun to watch as well. So I think probably both of those. And honestly, as low as I ranked it, maybe She-Hulk. It was just fun to watch. I mean, but again, it didn't really come up.
You would stop before the last episode.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's fun. But I honestly, again, all of these things I enjoy. There used to be a thing like with Harry Potter movies where when a new one would come out, I would force the entire family to rewatch all of them. And then you get to the point where you're like, can we just skip Sorcerer's Stone? No, you can't skip it. We got to go through all of them the whole time. So when you're going through and you're looking at all of these, like, it would be such a challenge. Like, hey, Quantum Mania is coming out. Don't forget to watch all 30 movies and all 11 originals from. You can't do it. It's too much of a beating. No. So it's good that there's a lot of content. I'm glad that we've had it to watch and talk about, and we've reviewed a lot of it. Next year we're going to review a lot of. I think we're going to try to go back and do a little bit of older stuff next year when we go back in. I know that. I think that Eric had wanted to do Blackbeard's Ghost. I think that Ron wanted to do the original Willow. Alicia wanted to do the original National Treasure. Frozen, I think, is one that we should do.
Wow, we've never done Frozen.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
right.
so
there's a
is
lot
that
to go
you?
deep in the plus still.
Is that you and me? I mean, let's figure that out,
No.
my friend. Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to figure out something to do because
Yeah,
it's always a pleasure talking to you, sir. Thank you guys so much
absolutely,
for
man.
watching. We love our WIGS members. Thank you guys for being WIGS, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. If you want to find out more about it, go to patreon.com/WDWNT to find out. But thank you guys for being WIGS members. And also, don't forget to subscribe to WDWNT TV for more great content, including this Friday is going to be the very last live show from WDWNT in 2022, which is going to be boxed in on Friday night. And then I hope you guys have an amazing holiday. Be with your family and friends. Love each other, and lots of hugs and lots of fun. And when it comes back into 2023, we'll have more of me and Patrick and Park Center and Deep in the Plus and all the fun stuff. So thank you for being here, Patrick, my friend. I hope you have a fantastic holiday.
Thank you. I'm in the middle of the Hanukkah season and rounding the corner to Christmas. Just gifts flying at my daughter in all directions. I don't know if she'll ever calm down.
Good. That's going to be
Nope.
fun. Nope.
Nope. Tired.
All right,
Very
everybody.
tired.
Thank you guys
Happy
all for
holidays,
watching.
everyone.
Happy holidays. We'll see you on the other side. Have a great holiday and a great new year, and appreciate you all. Have a good one.